This might be the most unhinged thing I've painted in the course of the entire panorama we're in. So for context, if you've been around on this channel for a little while, you probably have already picked up on the fact that I'm a bit of a nerd, I like D&D, I watch Critical Role. For the uninitiated, Critical Role is a Dungeons & Dragons live play show, where a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors who you've probably heard in video games you like sit around and play Dungeons & Dragons. This is tangential to that, so they have sponsorships on their show, which is how they keep their studio up and running. One of which is NordVPN. This is going somewhere, I promise. Over the course of their NordVPN sponsorships, which have been spread out over a handful of their shows, they've concocted what I can only call a mini-series, styled after, like, 80's hacker movies. Lovingly named
Nord by Nordwest, the quest for the Ultra Codex Reloaded.
So I got a brainworm, and I had to paint an 80s style movie poster based off of Nord by Nordwest, Quest for the Ultra Codex Reloaded, starring the cast of Critical Role. I don't know why my brain decided to go 100% in this direction, but I made no effort to stop it. So that's what we're doing today. I started out in Affinity Photo by taking some screenshots of the cast members in their costumes because no, I don't remember all of these costumes off the top of my head. And I played around with a couple of arrangements inspired by popular movie posters of the era. Should I include a spoiler warning for this mini-series? Fuck it, spoilers, I guess, for an ad. I knew I wanted the composition to feature Matthew Mercer as the main villain up at the top, with whatever doohickey he's made out of a giant D20 and a gemstone, spreading light down onto the rest of the cast. Sam Riegel and Laura Bailey as the protagonist and deuteragonist of this mini-series are featured in the center front, a little bit larger than the rest of the cast. And side villain and guest character Matthew Lillard is off to the side, being evil, I suppose. I like that they got him on their ad read, but like he didn't stay for the actual show. For their particular poses, I wanted to capture something representative of what their plot was in the show. So Laura has gone monochromatic, and Travis is frozen in time, space, something technological. He's been sliced. I also wanted to capture Taliesin using the power glove because there's gotta be a power glove, okay? Interestingly, it was actually Liam's pose in particular that inspired me to make a movie poster out of this, because something about his expression and the goggles and the way he's interacting with the monitor to his side, I don't know what it was, it just gave me really strong Back to the Future vibes. And I was like, movie poster! So now that we have a mock-up done, it is time to transfer this to the final paper. I'm using a piece of Canson Herratige hot press watercolor paper. I really do not like this paper, but I did some tests on it with acrylics, and it actually holds up to acrylics fairly well. I would not use it for watercolor, but acrylics are okay. I did transfer the text onto the final paper, however, I decided to paint over the text and then just add that again digitally after the painting is done, because painting around the text and then hand lettering it, it was just going to be an absolute pain. I'm not good at hand lettering. I started with Laura because she was probably going to be the easiest of the bunch to paint because she is monochromatic in this scene. So I didn't have to worry about color at all, I just focused on value in black and white. The hardest of the cast to paint was Matthew Mercer, and not just because he was the largest in the composition. A lot of it had to do with the fact that whatever helmet he's wearing, somebody please tell me what the heck that is. Whatever he's wearing is casting so much shadow on his face, and it's also covering his nose, so that leaves out a really large proportional signifier of where his facial features are. I like his pose because it reflects the sinister nature of the reveal of his villainy at the end of the arc, but it was very hard to paint. I also, in case you haven't noticed, don't paint a lot of men. I'm not good at painting the dudes. So the fact that this was a 6:3 men to women ratio that was difficult. But hey, you don't get better at something unless you do it. So, this was practice. If anybody can tell me what the heck they used for their costumes, I'm really curious. Like, hey, Critical Role Closet! What are they wearing? Like, it looks like football gear or something. If you're enjoying this painting process video, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. All in all, this took about, I want to say, more than 40 hours to paint, which is a surprisingly low number to me given that it's 9 individual people. So now all that was left to do was to scan it, stitch the scans together because this is too large to fit in my scanner in one go. So we're going to use a tool in Affinity Photo called the Panorama Tool. In Affinity Photo, you can scan a piece in a couple different parts and add them to the panorama dialog, and Affinity Photo will algorithmically stitch the piece together according to what it detects as the edges that match. It's pretty smart technology, and it saves me a lot of time because otherwise I would have to do that manually. And with a little bit of adjusting and some color correction, we can actually just paste that in right on top of the mock-up underneath the text layer, and it's pretty much done. Since I made this mock-up and I painted directly from the mock-up, when I paste it in underneath the text layer, the text is already placed exactly where I wanted it to be because I did that step already. I just tweaked the colors a little bit and added a bit of a distortion effect so that it looked like it was sitting on the paper rather than floating above it. It kind of gives it a little bit of paper texture. But yeah, let me know what you think. How unhinged was this painting project? Has quarantine gotten to me yet? Do you watch Critical Role? And if you do, let me know what your favorite moment is down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching me get this brainworm out of my head and onto paper. If you want to watch me paint another D&D inspired painting, head over here where I paint Ginny D's D&D character Aisling. Until next time, take care.